Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new to my channel, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are returning, thank you so much for coming back and returning. I really appreciate it. Make sure to go ahead, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, and go ahead and thumbs up this video because we're gonna have some fun today. So as you can see from the title of this video, today I'm going to be talking about how to budget and different tips and tricks to budget, and also at the towards the end of this video I will be showing you all how I do a mock budget. To see how I budget and different tips and tricks on how to budget, then make sure to just keep watching. Okay, so we're just gonna go ahead and jump into this video. So my first tip is going to be figure out what your income is. So you cannot create a budget if you do not know what your income is going to be. Some people have salaried incomes, some people are non-exempt, and so they are hourly. So figure out how much your income is going to be. Normally when I'm figuring out my income, I try to go lower. What I normally do is I try to think of, okay, how much on a normal basis, how much do I make? And normally I will lowball that number. And so if I'm making a certain amount, one check, I will at least estimate $100 or $200 less so that I do have that wiggle room. So I do always lowball it whenever I am thinking about my income. The second thing that you want to do is go ahead and write down all of your bills and expenses. So a lot of people have their fixed expenses, which are expenses that are the same amount every single month. So say for instance, your phone bill, maybe your cable bill, if you're not purchasing like movies or anything like that, your car note, all of those different things, those are normally the same amount every month. So write down those expenses or those bills, and then write down your expenses that you have. So for expenses, you have groceries, you have gas, other bills, maybe like your water bill, electric bill. All of those are different expenses that are going to change every month. So you're going to want to write down all of those so that you know what kind of money you're going to be spending for the month. Tip number 3, what I always do, I always list my savings as a fixed expense. I'm always going to be saving just about the same amount, if not more, every single paycheck when it comes to my savings. So instead of having that separate or having it as a variable, I always go ahead and write it down as a fixed expense because I know that I'm going to be saving that amount every month. When it comes to savings, always try to save at least 10% of your paycheck as part of your savings. So anytime that you get your check, you're always going to make sure to think, okay, what is 10% of this check? And go ahead and try to set that amount aside. If you don't have 10% that you're not able to take away from the income that you're getting, try to figure out a percentage that is comfortable enough for you to be able to put aside to put into your savings. Tip number 5, what you always want to do is pay your bills first, honey. Do not sit there and purchase other things. Do not sit there and try to pay your varied expenses. Go ahead and pay your bills first, then worry about the next things, because you want to make sure that you have enough money to cover your bare necessities, the bare bills, before moving forward and spending money on other things. I promise you this will keep you out of financial trouble if you go ahead and pay your bills first, then worry about the rest later. So go ahead, I can't stress it enough, pay your bills first. Number 6, when it comes to your bills, if you are able to and you know that you'll be making enough for it, I would suggest going ahead and having automatic payments taken out of your account for your bills so that you don't even have to worry about it. You know that this specific day of the month, you're able to go ahead and get the funds taken out of your account to go straight to your bill. So if you're able to do that for your fixed expense bills, then go ahead and do that. Now with bills that vary in price, I wouldn't really suggest that because you never know really how much they're going to be. So I would suggest just doing this for fixed expenses such as your car note and other things that are going to be the same amount every single month. So that's a key that I would say go ahead and do so that you don't even have to worry about thinking about it. It's automatically coming out of your check, automatically coming out of your account. So that's one less thing you have to worry about trying to do. Next, number 7, what I would suggest when you're trying to come up with a budget is definitely making a plan for it. Either writing it down, which I'll show later in this video, or using an app. Some of the apps that I personally have seen that work, the Mint app is really great. There's also an app, I believe it's called Expenses, through the Apple App Store. So I would suggest either writing it down or using one of those apps to try to help you out. Another thing that is helpful is a lot of banks, from what I've seen, they have an online feature to where it'll create basically a budget for you off of the amount of money that they see that you spend every month. I know that my bank does it. I'm able to create a budget through there as well if I want to, and it already has the money that I normally spend on like bills and everything uploaded on there because it can read it from my account. Definitely another free resource that you can check out. So I would suggest either doing it by hand, which I'll show you how to do later on, or I would suggest using an app such as the Mint app, or using your own bank app that has something that's already created. Number 8, when it comes to budgeting, I would suggest live below your means. So when you're budgeting out your money and you're trying to figure out what to put with which, other than your fixed expenses, of course, because those are going to be the same amount. But say for instance, when you're budgeting out for like your any clothes or self-care or anything, live below your means. So try to live where you're only spending a little bit of money, that you're not spending all of your check that you have every single month. Try to go ahead and save as much as possible and live below the means until you are very comfortable. Now, if you are comfortable with how much you have in your savings account and how much you're spending, then that's perfectly fine. You do you. But for me, I personally want to live below my means. So there are times where I can't make it to trips that other people are going on, or concerts that other people are going to, or even going out. Like there are times where I choose to stay home because it's cheaper to stay home, and it's easier for me to go ahead and all that money that I would spend, which for traveling and everything is a lot of money, I can go ahead and put that in my savings. I always go by the saying, and I even have it on my phone, that Dave Ramsey says. It says, if you live like no one else, later you can live like no one else. So if you live like no one else now and you live below your means and build up your savings, later on in life you can live like no one else. You can travel and do everything that you want to do and still be financially comfortable. So that is something that I always live by. The last tip that I have is, whenever you are going ahead and budgeting out like your varied expenses, such as for groceries, clothes, whatever, I would suggest using like the cash envelope system. Dave Ramsey has introduced that as well. Basically taking out cash for the amounts that you plan on spending. So say for instance, you are going to be setting aside $50 to $60 for groceries for those 2 weeks or whenever you get paid. Go ahead and take that out in cash so that you know that, okay, I have this $60 in my hand. This is the only $60 that I can spend. I can't swipe my card and go over budget. I only have this amount that I can spend, and I cannot go over with it, because once this money is gone, it's gone. So I would suggest using that for any type of varied expenses that you have, such as your self-care, for groceries, for really anything that you have other than, of course, your bills. Go ahead and take it out in cash. For me, whenever I have cash on me, I'm a little bit more hesitant to spend the cash than I am with swiping my card. I can swipe my card all day long, but when it comes to cash and I see, okay, I'm dwindling down on what is in my pocket or what is in my wallet, then I don't spend as much. So that's definitely a trick that has helped me, because once it's gone, and you cannot, technically you cannot replace it. So you just kind of think, okay, how can I make this couple of dollars or whatever I have stretch so that I'm not having to swipe my card for anything. Okay, so those are a couple of the tips that I have when it comes to budgeting. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch over so that you all can see kind of a mock budget and how I create my budget on paper each month. Now for me, sometimes I'll write it down on paper, and I'll also have a spreadsheet that I use that is much easier really to use, because it calculates everything for you. If you want a copy of that spreadsheet or a blank version of that spreadsheet, I will go ahead and link that down below so that you can use it every month as well. But today I'm going to show you all how I use my paper basic version. Okay, hello everybody. So I'm going to be showing you all how I kind of create a monthly budget. This is not going to be actual numbers from my income or anything. These are just going to be mock makeup numbers that I come up with, kind of to show you all how I create my budget and how I follow a budget. So first I'm gonna go ahead and, excuse my nails, let me just preface that. So first I go ahead and put the month. So we're gonna budget for August 2018. So down here I'm going to put estimated income. This is how much I believe that I'm going to make, and then I'll put actual income, and when I get paid I'll make sure to fill that out. So for the purpose of this video, I'll say that our estimated income, we'll just say it's $2,000 a month. So we'll say $2,000. And normally when I'm coming up with a budget, I will kind of go lower in my estimated. I'll go lower than anything. I don't want to over budget for anything, so I make sure with my estimated I estimate lower than higher when it comes to my income. And so next, what I will do is I will split up my bills and expenses by checks. And so if I'm getting $2,000 a month, then I'll say each check is going to be roughly $1,000, and I'm going to split up the bills per check. So I'll have the 15th of the month check, and I'll have the 30th of the month check over here, or not check, I'm sorry, yeah, check over here, and all the bills and expenses that come out from each paycheck. Say 15th of the month, and over here it's 30th of the month. Okay, so first I'm going to start off with my bills. Now my bills are going to be the things that are like fixed every single month, so I know exactly what the price is going to be every single month. These are not going to change, so these are going to be my fixed expenses. So I'll put bills right here. So we'll say that for the 15th of the month, we'll say I have my car note. We'll say I have insurance. I'll say also that I have a credit card due for this part of the month. And then I'll say that I have my phone bill. Then we'll say for the end of the month, my bills are going to be starting towards the beginning of the month. So for the 30th of the month check, we'll say that is going to be rent. We'll say electric, water, and let's just say we have another credit card. So as far as for my car note, we'll say that my car note is, I don't know, like $200. We'll say my insurance is about $100. We'll say one minimum payment for my credit card is $25. And we'll say my phone bill is $70. Over here, we'll say that my rent is $450. Now honey, in New York we already know that's a lie, but we'll say my that is $450. We'll say electricity is $50. We'll say water is $25, and we'll say that this credit card is $30. So those are all of my fixed expenses, fixed bills. So this is what I know that I'll have to spend each month. So I'm going to go ahead and total all of that out. This first, we have 200 plus 100 plus 25 plus 70. That's $395 for that first part of the month. So that's $395 that we're spending just on bills alone for that month. And then or that check, I should say. And then for this check, it will say $450 plus 50 plus 25 plus 30. So that's $555. So that's how much that we've spent from them. So with that, we know that we have $1,000 per check. So I'm going to do 1,000 minus $395. So that means we have $605 left from that check for this one. And then for this one, we'll say 1,000 minus 555, $445. Now, as soon as I'm done paying my bills, and normally people do this at the very beginning before they even pay bills, but I want to see how much I have first to pay my bills and then put up. So next I'm going to go ahead and put money aside for savings. So I'm going to put aside about 10% of my check. So I had $1,000. So I'm going to take away, so we'll say savings. I'll label this expenses. We'll say this one, savings. I'm going to put aside $100. Over here, we'll put expenses. Savings, $100. Okay, so that now leaves us with $505 over here, $345. Now that I have that money set aside, the rest of the month for my expenses, that's how much I can spend. Or not the rest of the month, the rest of that pay period, that's what I can spend. So for my expenses, we'll say gas, we'll say food. I'll usually do like self-care, so hair, nails, all that good stuff. We'll say clothes. For me, I live in public transportation, so I will put, I'll just put MTA. So that's like my subway, bus, all of that. And then I'll put miscellaneous. So for my gas, for 2 weeks for gas, I don't drive my car, but for somebody that would, I would say for 2 weeks, maybe $20 a week. So we'll say $40 for gas. For food for 2 weeks, I'm able to live off of $35 a week. And on groceries, if I go grocery shopping, which I suggest if you're trying to save money, go grocery shopping and meal prep instead of eating out. But just for the sake of this, we'll say that food, $50 each week, we'll say $100. And this is based off of just one person. I'm not doing it for a family or anything like that. Self-care, if I want to get my nails and toes done, we can set aside another, we'll say $50. Clothing, if you like going shopping like that, I don't shop that often, but if you want to get some clothes, you can say another $50. And this is just for that one period, so this is not for the whole month. So we'll say $50 for clothes. For MTA, for me, if you have public transportation, I mean, I usually would spend like maybe in a 2 week span, maybe like $20, $30. So I'll just say $30. Okay, for miscellaneous, that for me is like toiletries or anything that may come up that I have to pay for something for. So for that, I'll just go ahead and put like, we'll say for that 2 week span, we'll say $60. Okay, so we know that I have about $505 after taking that $100 from savings. So we'll say 505 minus gas, which is $40, minus the $100 for groceries, minus $50 for self-care, minus $50 for clothing, minus the $30 for MTA, and then minus the $60 for miscellaneous. So that's $175 left that we have for that 2 week period. Normally, if I have leftover funds, if I did not budget it out for the rest of these, then I will either put it in savings or I will put it towards a debt, so I can go ahead and put more money on, like, say for instance with my credit card. If I wanted to try to start paying off my credit card, I could put an extra like $50 on that credit card. Or if I want to put more in savings, I can put an extra 100, 175, whichever you want to do. But you know that you have basically $175 extra for that. And you also know that if you want to put that away in savings, or you can use it towards your next expenses for the next part of the month. And so for this one, for my expenses, I know that I have $445 left, and I went ahead and took 100 away in savings, so that means I only have $335 left. So I can easily keep that money, save it up, and go ahead and move it to this check if need be, because I do have less funds from this check than I do on here. So we'll say the same on here. We'll say gas, food, the 335 minus 40 minus 100 minus 50 minus 50 minus 30 minus 60, that leaves us with $5. So we know that we have this extra 175, so we can add that 175, and that leaves us in total with $180 extra from the month. Like I said, if you want to save that, you can, or you can put it towards other expenses. It really just depends on what you want to do. So this is basically a mock budget of what I would do in the month. Of course, this is not everything, all of my expenses, and this is not the amount that I get paid each month. But you know, just for people that may have a similar situation as this, then you would be able to kind of plan your life around that. So I hope that made sense. Please let me know if you all have any questions down below, and I will see you all next time. Bye guys.